food. Bless our children and bless our town. We thank you for the Rotary and all the good it does around the world. We ask that you bless us. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Flag salute. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Patty Beth?
Yeah.
Rotary song, let's go.
Oh, we're so excited to sing today. Because this big group, I expect to hear choir-like sound. And so, yes, in honor of Labor Day, we're going to sing the Labor Day National Anthem. Maestro, if you could bring up some tunes for us. Here we go. Turn it up. No, you're singing with me. I just come to the kitchen, pour myself a cup of ambition, and yawn and stretch and try to comply. I don't hear ya. Jump in the shower and the blood starts pumping. Out on the streets, the traffic starts jumping, and folks like me on the job from 9 to 5. Working 9 to 5, on the wage, make a living, barely getting by. It's all taken and no giving. Just use your mind, and they never give you credit. It's enough to drive you crazy if you let it. 9 to 5, for service and devotion. You would think that I would deserve a fair promotion. Want to move ahead, but the boss won't seem to let me. I swear sometimes that minute I'm too empty.
We're going to be in prayer, aren't we? We're here all day. All day. I don't know about this, Clayton. Now you're Sergeant of Arms, so I don't know how you're going to top that.
So I appreciate that we do a slow clap for everybody, but I think it's earned this time because most people are probably going, who is Sergeant at Arms today? And Patty Beth, if you are here next week, I want to establish expectations now. When I'm covering next week, I will not stay up here and sing along. I just want to make sure expectations are set.
That sounds like a fine right there.
I would gladly pay. So, now, Sergeant at Arms, if you're a guest, you don't have to pay. But if not, this goes to our scholarships. So I have some questions about the Eastern Shawnee tribe in the spirit of our guest speaker today. And so some of these, I don't want to steal all the thunder. So they're pretty simple, basic questions, but I thought it'd be interesting to kind of talk about it before she gets up here. So, first question, is the Eastern Shawnee tribe one of the federal recognized tribes?
Yes.
That should have been a group effort on that one. But now, of the Shawnee tribe, how many are there? Is there one? Or more than one? Anybody? All right. There are 3 Shawnee tribes. So now that we've established there are 3, my next question is, what are the other 2? But I'm going to go ahead and tell you, unless somebody knows it, because that quick. Okay, absolutely. One of those, the absentee Shawnee. This is actually, the other one's kind of a softball. Anybody?
Just Shawnee.
There you go. That's it. It's just the Shawnee tribe. Where is the Shawnee tribe located?
Shawnee.
It is not. The Shawnee tribe is in Miami, Oklahoma. Which of the tribes is in Shawnee? The absentee Shawnee tribe, which I thought that was kind of interesting, that the absentee Shawnee tribe is in Shawnee. And does anybody know where the Shawnee tribe was originally located? Nick doesn't count. He knows everything for some reason. I still haven't figured out why. Anybody else? Ohio, or more specifically the Middle Ohio Valley, which is now the modern-day Louisville, Kentucky, and West Virginia. Now, for any history buffs out there, who was one of their greatest leaders in chief of the Shawnee tribe?
Wallace.
Great answer. Absolutely great answer. Historical leader.
Yes.
I heard it over here. Tecumseh, that's right. Does anybody know what that name stands for? I thought this was interesting. What does Tecumseh stand for? And if this is wrong, and you can correct me, but this came from the National Park Service, so take it up with them. But Tecumseh stands for either the shooting star, or my favorite, a celestial panther lying in wait. Because apparently when he was born, a great meteor flashed across the sky. So everybody needs to get out of knowledge. I'm pretty sure only 2 people answer these questions.
And now presenting our Students of the Month will be Pat Dotson. We can do better than that. Round of applause, guys. Come on.
This is the future of our community right here. Hey, it's always an honor to bring up our students, and I tell you, those who've been in Rotary for a while, we don't let you down. We've brought great students over the years, and here we are. I can't believe we're starting another school year, but we are going to go ladies first with Avery Nichols and then Asher Julio.
Like you said, I'm Avery Nichols. I have a wonderful mom and dad, Karen and Blake Stevens. Just my mom here today, but that's okay. It's kind of funny because I've actually grown up around you guys, and I've been coming to these meetings and coming to your events for years now, and so it's such an honor to finally be, a part of your program and officially, get to stand with you guys and help you guys. A little bit about myself. I was working as a lifeguard at the Grove City Pool this summer. I'm also certified in child development, and so I was working in a daycare. But on top of that, I am a part of the Grove Varsity Cheer team. I'm in NHS, Math Club, Character Counts, Student Council, basically you name it, I'm probably in it. But my favorite is probably Student Council because I've been a part of Cowie for the last 3 years. It's, it started as like an extracurricular, but it turned into a passion, and I'm so excited to just bring everything that I've learned in the past few years from that to my adulthood. So. I also have a 4.0 GPA, and we won academic state champs in cheer in 2023. I am undecided on college on which one I want to go to, but ideally it would be OSU and then major in chemistry and then go on into the medical field later. I just want to say thank you guys again for allowing me to be here. You guys all mean so much to me and have helped me, become who I am and help me get up here on the stage for you guys. So thank you so much for everything.
Hello, my name is Asher Shawnee, although I'm sure it was just announced. This is the second time I've been here. The first time was with Ryla, and I'm so thankful that y'all got to send me to that because I've met so many people from that, and the experiences I got from that were just amazing. And it's just awesome. So thank y'all for that. Really, round of applause for y'all. That was amazing. Appreciate it. So a little bit about myself. I am a varsity football player for the past 2 years now, starting right guard. I am in Grove Student Council. I joined last year. At first it was because my mom was like, hey, you should try this. And I was like, all right. And ever since I got into that, and then once we got into Cow Week, I was like, wow, this is amazing. I love this. Just the pure service over self thing was something that just awoke a light bulb in me, and it was awesome. So getting to see the money that we raised last year was just a very heartwarming feeling in my heart. More things about me. I am a 3.75 GPA student. 1 or 2 B's in there. It's on me. But I also am a varsity baseball player the past 2 years. We won academic state champ my freshman year, so that was pretty fun. And that's me. So thank y'all for having me. I'm so grateful to be here, so grateful to have this opportunity to learn from y'all.
Our caterer today is the Drift, with the delicious pot roast that they've served. So let's give the Drift a big round of applause. And our Rotarian of the day is Kirk Killian. Kirk, would you like to? He's very humble. He's great, right? We also received a card from one of our fellow Rotarians, Terry Jones. He was Rotarian of the Day, and his Sudie's card says, "Terry would like to thank you for the honor of choosing him Rotarian of the Day. He was so happy to know he hasn't been forgotten. We both think of Grove as our home. The community of Grove was so good to us. We will never forget the kindness given to us. Thank you again." So, even though he's not here with us, he's still watching. He's still getting his newsletter. So, very sweet. Please give them your thoughts and prayers. Our guest today with Linda Paul is Val Zemke. Val, thank you for joining us. With Ford, our potential new Rotarian, Sandy Love. Charlie Swinton is with Serena Nelson, future Rotarian coming to join us. Christy Wallace has with her Josh and Sarah Wilhelm. Have it today. And then with Bud is Rebecca Holmes. Rebecca, thank you for joining us today. And any Rotarian announcements, if you will make your way to the stage, please.
You know I'm here to tell you it's not too late to sign up for the Citizens Grove Academy. Come up here, Chief. Grove Citizens Police Academy. It's a fantastic program. We begin September 11th. We'll meet for the September 11th and the following 5 Thursdays from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. No cost. You get to do a mock traffic stop, a mock domestic violence 911 call, criminals investigation. So you need to come, it's great. Chief Morris leads us, he's a good leader, as well as Tracy Bloss, Officer Fassini. Some of you might have met them on the street who've done something wrong. So come and give it back to them. September 11th, you can contact the Grove PD Facebook page to enroll, and we'll get on with it. Thank you.
On your tables, you have some flyers for the Grove Area Chamber of Commerce annual fall golf tournament, which will be happening at Patricia Island Country Club on September 19th. The cost is $500 a team. We always have a really, really great time. There's fun, there's games, there's bev carts, and there's going to be a great breakfast and a great lunch. So if you or you know anyone that would like to put in a team, we still have just a few teams spots left. So get with us, let us know, and we hope someone can come out. Thanks.
Hi folks, you know me. This Saturday, Wolf Creek Park, 5 a.m. It says 5:30 up there on the screen. We need you there at 5 a.m. Okay, sorry, I know it's early. Right? But if you can volunteer and show up at 5 a.m. at Wolf Creek Park at the bathrooms, we will definitely put you to work. And thank you.
Just for clarification, that's the first 5 that comes around, 5 a.m.?
5 a.m. 5 a.m.
Pat, can you help me with something real quick? Yes, please. So because it is football season in Roadrunner Nation for number 53 Asher, We have 4 football tickets that we would like to auction off. So I'm going to have Pat, because I've heard he's a great auctioneer and he can sing and dance and all that.
I am from the Los Angeles, Hollywood area, but well, we have such high expectations, don't we, Asher? State championship is always our expectation. Whether it happens or not, we will find out, but we have high expectations. We have a new coach, we have some new players on the team. There's a buzz around the whole school district about the success of our team this year. So I would love for you guys to come and witness what I'm talking to you about right now. I am not an auctioneer by any means. All I know is I've been to some and I'll eat the beef if I buy it at an auction, but other than that, I have no idea how to be an auctioneer. So, who wants to start the bidding?
$20.
We have $20. $20. We have 4 tickets. 100. There we got $100. Thank you, Clay, for helping us out right here. I may have showed the fight for me. $100 over here. Can we have 125, 130?
Let's go, 125. Come on. 125 right over there.
125 right over here.
Come on.
Nick, back to you. It's 125 over here.
Who wants to bid 130?
Do I have 130 anywhere?
130. 125 going once.
130 right here.
130 right there.
130. Nick, 140. Come on, Nick. 4 seats. 140 right here. Right, 145, 150.
Do we have 145?
We have 140 once.
140 once.
He's got his hand up with 140.
No, I'm not even in town.
140 twice. 150. We have 150 right here. Yeah, 150. Anybody go 155? 155.
155 bid. Who bids 155? Come on.
155 once. 150. We're at 150, aren't we?
150.
All right.
150 once. 150
150 twice.
Sold.
Thank you very much. I have seats myself, and if my seats are better than these, I'll give you mine.
Thank you. All right, now for the moment we've all been waiting for, with the introduction of our program of Chief Glenna Wallace is Mary Richardson.
Thank you. I also wanted to mention that accompanying Chief today is Tim Botts, the Director of Operations Business Committee, so thank you for coming also. So a week ago, when I called Chief Glenna, and I said, well, how would you like to be introduced? Do you have a bio you want to send me? And she's like, oh, I'm sure whatever you do is fine. I mean, it'll be fine. And as I looked at more information about her, I realized just how humble she is. So I want to tell you a little bit about her, and then we'll bring her on up. And I know I already like her, because she was so humble, and there's like a huge list. If I talked about all of her community service and honors and awards, I would take up a whole presentation. So I will make it much shorter for you all. Glenna Wallace is Chief of the Eastern Shawnee Tribe of Oklahoma, as you all know. Since 2006, Chief Wallace has served as the tribe's first ever female chief. Since 2006, so think about that. She's getting reelected since then. She works with federal, tribal, state, and community and individual entities, consistently emphasizing some key areas: education, historical preservation, rebirth of cultural awareness, and economic security. She also worked with Crowder College in Neosho, Missouri for more than 38 years prior to becoming chief. So she was an educator before she became chief. She taught more than 25,000 students and traveled to more than 70 countries. And I think we're going to hear a little bit about travel maybe when she talks to you all. Chief Wallace earned Bachelor of Arts, Master of Arts, and Education Specialist degrees from Pittsburgh State University and continues postgraduate studies at several institutions. So please help me welcome Chief Glenna Wallace.
Only my mother could be here to hear that. I never met Mary, and when she called me, I couldn't understand why in the world she was inviting me to speak to the Rotary Club in Grove, and I said, what is it you want me to speak about? And she said, I want you to speak about yourself. Now, I'm accustomed to talking about many other things, but I'm not accustomed to talking about myself. So I tried to think about, why is she wanting me to talk about myself? And so I came to the conclusion that probably the apex of my career was 2 years ago, in 2023. And I represented the United States in Saudi Arabia. And I represented the United States in accepting World Heritage designation for 8 of our ancestral mounds in Ohio. Now, I don't expect you to know all about that, so when I say World Heritage, I'm talking about places that have World Heritage designation. Perhaps you've heard of the Great Wall of China. Perhaps you've heard of the pyramids in Egypt. Perhaps you've heard of Notre Dame in France. Perhaps you've heard of the Colosseum in Rome, Acropolis in Greece. I could go on and on. Machu Picchu in Peru, Grand Canyon in the United States. There are 1,199 World Heritage Sites in the world. The United States is the one that thought of the concept of establishing World Heritage and recognizing places that have outstanding universal value. 1,199, with the idea conceived by the United States. And yet in the United States, we had only 24 World Heritage Sites. So how in the world did this person from Ottawa County, Oklahoma, represent the United States in accepting the honor of having 8 ancestral mounds in Ohio designated as World Heritage Sites? So it goes back a long way. Let's start with my childhood. I come from an extremely poor family, but then I don't know many families in Ottawa County who weren't extremely poor. We were poor monetarily. We were rich in family. We were rich in love. We were rich in supporting each other. My father was a lead and zinc miner. He was one of those who went into those terrible pits day after day after day. Both my mother and my father lost parents when they were extremely young. My father was only 6 months old when his father died. My mother was only 7 years of age when her mother died. And so grandparents are something that I didn't know a great deal about. And it was his older brothers and sisters who basically raised my father, because stop and think about what the age of my father would be. I will be 87 in November. So for my father and his father, you stop and think about how far back that would be. When my father's father died, my grandmother had 7 children that she was responsible for. They didn't have Social Security. They didn't have death benefits. She had no support whatsoever. She had no job that she had been in to have a retirement or anything. And so she worked every kind of job that she could. She was a cook in a restaurant. She took in washings. She took in ironings. They trapped animals, fed them, lived on chicken, rabbits, squirrels. That's the background my father came from. Unfortunately, he also came from a background of alcohol. And my father became an alcoholic when he was a very young man. Working in the mines didn't help him any, because the mine work was difficult, and every time Friday came with a check, rather than coming home, Like so many others, he went to a bar, and most of that money was spent there at a bar. My father recognized that he was probably never going to change his life as long as he lived, working in the mines, associating with the same people, living in Ottawa County. And so when I was about 8 years of age, my father decided that we were going to go to the West Coast. We were going to go to Oregon, California, and Washington, and we were going to become migrant people. We were migrant people. He took his miner's retirement and he bought an old farm truck, flatbed, threw up some lumber, threw tarpaulin over the top of it, and we became some of the first RVers in the United States. The Beverly Hillbillies had nothing compared to us. It was a time when we didn't have cell phones, obviously, and we didn't have people taking photographs as often as you have today. But if anybody had a picture that they could take, if they had a camera, they were always taking pictures of us. Barefoot, sitting in the truck, driving. Hansel and Gretel are told in our fairy tale stories that they left the track because of breadcrumbs. The cheapest thing that we could eat were eggs, and so we left the track of egg shells all the way from Ottawa County to Oregon. We became migrant workers for 3 years. We traveled from place to place, job to job, crop to crop, school to school. I can't tell you how many schools I attended from the age of 8 through the age of 11. It was a good time for me. I was young. I had no expectations. I had love from my mom and dad, from my 4 siblings. So don't feel sorry for me when I talk about these things, because they actually enriched my lives. But we oftentimes didn't have a place to stay, so there were really 11 of us. My mother, father, the 5 of us children, my mother's brother, his wife, their 2 children, so 11 of us. And we lived in the back of that truck. If we found an abandoned barn, we pulled into that abandoned barn. If that barn had hay bales, oh fantastic, we had something to sleep on that night. I became an expert at crawling on a hay bale and being able to sleep and sleep soundly. We lived in other places, places that were never the best. I can remember being on one place that was actually, we were picking green beans, but it was actually a hog farm, and we had our individual pigsties. I'd never had a bedroom by myself, and I had a private bedroom. I swept that dirt until it would actually shine because I was so proud. And I wanted my pigsty to look better than anybody else's. I was taught from the age of 8 and really earlier than that family was important. And when we became migrant workers, I was taught I had as much responsibility of supporting that family as anybody else did. I had as much responsibility of supporting that family as my dad did, as my mother did. Every single day, my mother and father gave me a duty, a list, responsibility for that day as to what I was to accomplish. And so if I were in a strawberry patch, I was told, Glenna, you must pick 50 quarts of strawberries today. And that 50 quarts of strawberries is for the family. But if you pick more than that, Glenna, you get to keep that money for yourself. I was the greediest little girl in the United States. 5 cents a quart. I didn't want to pick 50. I wanted that 50 picked and done by noon. And then the afternoon was mine. And I picked those strawberries and I made money. What did I buy with that? We didn't have much food. I never knew what a brick of ice cream was. And so I could take that money and buy a whole brick, and then we could take those strawberries and smash and put them on top. And it was heaven. I enjoyed that money. I got to buy my first dress ever with that money. But you know what I found out was even more important than that money? It was the pride that it instilled in me of setting a goal and accomplishing that goal and surpassing that goal. And that has just become the way I have lived my life. It just became natural. You have goals every single day. Maybe the goal is you're going to relax today and you don't have to do anything. And do I ever relax that day? But I have goals every single day, every single week, every single year, and I want to accomplish those goals. We were there for 3 years. What did I learn in those 3 years? I went from school to school. Stop and think who I was. In case you don't know it, Oklahoma isn't considered to be the best state in the United States. You know, I've heard some very disturbing statistics about Oklahoma in the last month. I've heard that we are 50th in the United States in education. I've heard that we are 49th in the United States in healthcare. I've heard that we are 50th in the United States in voter turnout. And that the worst part of that is that Native Americans are the worst offenders of all. Those are challenges for all of us, things that we should be concerned about. But I was an Okie. Okie is something I'm proud of, but that's not what is the general concept of Okie elsewhere. That's a negative term. I was an Okie. I was a migrant kid. How long was I going to be in that school system? How long was I going to be in that area? How much attention are you going to pay to me? How much teaching are you going to try to get me to do? And I was an Indian. I didn't have a whole lot going for me. I went to different school after different school, and every single time, where do you think I was placed if they had more than one level of that class? Always in the bottom. By the time I left, I was at the top. I left there, went to another school, and where did I go? To the bottom. Left there, where did I go? By the time I left, top. I learned to be with people of all kinds, of all abilities, of all desires, of all makes, and I found that we all have needs, we all need to be appreciated, we all want to be liked, we all want to be treated with dignity. And so I learned relationships are extremely important. It's a lesson I've never forgotten. We were there for 3 years, and unfortunately my father came down with tuberculosis of the spine. We had to leave and we came back home. In World War II, they were so desperate for people that my father was drafted even though he had 5 children. He wasn't there too long, got out on a hardship, but he was a veteran. And so when he had tuberculosis in the spine, we came back to Oklahoma. He went to Muskogee Veterans Hospital. He was operated upon. First type of surgery they'd ever done in the United States. They removed his spinal column. They removed the leg from his knee down in his left leg. They put that bone, and that became his spinal column. He was told that he would probably never walk again, that he would never work again. He was not able to work again. He was able to walk again. And I can remember, with my brothers and sisters and my mother, going to see my father the first time after he had that surgery. They brought him out into the waiting room, and we were there for about 2 hours, and he was never able to talk to us because he was crying the entire time. And I've often thought about what are the thoughts that's going through that man's mind. What a failure he had to feel that he was. How he had to worry about what was going to happen because his wife was in the same situation that his mother was. She had never finished high school. She had no training. They didn't have places where you could pick strawberries or find some support in Ottawa County. We lived in the country. We didn't have transportation. We rode a school bus to go to school. And I remember looking at my mother and saying, and remember, I had become a very independent little girl. I was a female Tom Sawyer, a Huckleberry Finn. I was mischievous as Dennis the Menace. But I was naive and innocent as Opie. But I also had the optimism of little orphan Annie, because I always believed the sun is going to come out tomorrow. That's who Glenna Wallace was at age 9, 10, 11. That's who Glenna Wallace is today. People are still surprised at sometimes some things that come out of my mouth, you know, that they don't expect. And I'm not talking about cussing, but I can be sassy, and I can be humorous, And I can say things that other people wouldn't dare to say. But when I looked at my father and looked at my mother, the thought that came to my mind at the age of 11 is, she has no options. No options whatsoever. We are going to go on welfare. And you couldn't have told me anything more terrible, because I had been such an independent little girl who believed that I could do whatever, how bad it was, I could make it better. It would be okay. And at that moment, not having a whole lot of knowledge about the world, I decided that the only way that I could change my future was education. So education became extremely important to me at that moment, at age 11. Even though I came from a family that neither my mother nor father had graduated from high school, I didn't have a single member in my family on either side who had female who had graduated from high school. I knew that I had to excel in education, and so that became my goal. I actually married when I was a senior in high school. I actually had to leave home when I was 15 years of age with my mother and father's consent, because I started high school with 2 feed-sack skirts and 1 feed-sack blouse. I never had to think and wonder about what am I going to wear today, you know. I went to Wyandotte High School, rode the school bus, left for 1 semester, went to Miami High School because I had a cousin who owned a restaurant there. I only had to go to school from 8 in the morning until noon. Then I walked to the restaurant and worked from 12 until 8 o'clock that night. I paid the rent myself. I lived in an apartment, saved enough money to have enough to buy some clothes that I had, and then went back to Wyandotte. Married in my senior year. Unfortunately, married a man who understood my need for an education. And it was always, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to go to college. We had 3 children. So I had a son who was 5, a daughter who was 4, and then another daughter who was 1. And the opportunity came for me to go and start an education. I went to NEOA. I was fortunate enough to be able to finish 2 years there. And then, remember, this was so long ago, there was no 4-year school in this area. I had the choice of driving to Fayetteville, if I'm going to get a 4-year degree, or drive to Springfield, Missouri, or drive to Pittsburgh, Kansas. I chose to drive to Pittsburgh, Kansas. And so I was able to make good grades. I was able to receive my bachelor's. I was able to receive a scholarship and do my master's. So within 5 years, I had finished the associates, the bachelor's, the master's, and I was offered a job out of college. I didn't even interview. Had some people there who knew me, and Crowder College was a brand new college. I started teaching there in 1968, and that college was established in 1965. 3 years later, I was named the department chair, because I still had that type of, we don't have everything here and we need something, and I'll help, how can I do that? So I started out assisting as a cheerleading coach. And then from there, we didn't have any GED programs. We had only a 10% rate of people going on to college in those 2 counties. And so if you dropped out of school, you didn't have an opportunity to change that or do anything. You didn't have those options. And I said, we need a GED program. I'll help with that. I'll start that. So I was the first GED teacher, and we helped many students, and I was the one who said, when they score so well, they ought to get a scholarship just as well as a person who's just graduated as a senior. The score is what counts, and so we gave scholarships to adults. About 4 years later, even though I was the youngest one in the department, the college, again being a new college, said, all we have are departments, and we really don't need all these departments. We need to merge some of these, and we need to have divisions. And I was named the division head of communications, which is okay. I can write, I can speak. That's what I was as a department. But what did they put with that? Fine arts and design. What did I know about fine arts and design? I could say it, I could spell it, I could teach them how to sleep on a hay bale, I could take them to a goat roping. Fine arts and design, but I was named that because of my work ethic.
It didn't take me long to realize Crowder College, we had 2 counties in our jurisdiction. The state of Missouri has 114 counties. One of our counties was the 2nd poorest in the state. So not only did I not know about fine arts and design, but very few people in the area knew about fine arts and design as well. We tried to bring in some activities, but the attendance was not the best. And so I decided, okay, somewhere I'm going to have to get these students out to these places. And I developed a travel series. From that travel series, that enabled me to go to more than 70 countries in the world. I was the one who was designing those trips. Where did I decide to go? Not because I had experience with any of those places, but because I had heard of the Great Wall of China. Because I had heard of the pyramids in Egypt. Because I had heard of Mount Uluru in Australia. Because I had heard of Machu Picchu. And so those were the places that I was taking these students. We went to the finest museums. We went to the finest musicals, we went to theaters, we went to historical places, and only later did I realize I was hearing of these places because they were World Heritage Sites. I didn't plan to go to them because they were World Heritage Sites. I didn't even know they were World Heritage Sites at that point in my life. After all, what did I know about fine arts and design? But it was wonderful opportunities for me and enriched my life. I became involved in other activities as well. We didn't have minorities in that area. I helped design student exchanges. I had 3 girls who came and lived with me for 3 years. Thought that I was prepared for that. Got our first telephone bill. They didn't know what long distance was. And they certainly didn't have the money to pay for it, and they were from Russia. And they were talking long distance to Russia almost every single night. It was my entire paycheck. I could go on and on about the experiences. I became a math whiz from the ages of 8 to 11 because of multiplying 50 quarts a day, 5 cents a quart, $2.50. If I pick 10 more quarts, 5 cents a quart, 50 cents. If I do that 6 days a week, $3. That dress is $3.98. If I do more than that, I can have that. And in my head, I became a math whiz. I was a Crowder from 1968. In 1984, something happened. And in 1984, my tribe, the Eastern Shawnee tribe. Now let me tell you about my tribe. I knew no more about my tribe than I knew about World Heritage Sites. I knew that I was born a citizen of the Eastern Shawnee tribe. My tribe, we were the first tribe. The Indian Removal Act was passed in 1830. My tribe, along with the Seneca Cayuga tribe, first tribe in the United States to be forcibly removed. My tribe, we can document that we lived in 27 different states. We were travelers. There were so many of us because at that time there weren't 3 federally recognized tribes. And we had to leave in the winter to go elsewhere, or if we'd all stayed in the same place, we would have depleted all of the animals, all of the food. So we were the first conservationists realizing we have to take care. So 27 states, but in the 1700s, we went to the Ohio River Valley and we stayed until we were removed in 1832. In 1832, my tribe, we were known as the mixed band, Senecas and Shawnees. We signed a treaty in 1831. 60,000 acres would be ours in a place called, not Oklahoma, because it didn't become the state of Oklahoma until 1907. 1832, Indian Territory. Today in Ottawa County, there are 9 federally recognized tribes. We were the only 2 that were sent directly to what became Ottawa County. The other 5 were sent to Kansas. Why, I cannot tell you. But 5 went there, and then they came down here after the Civil War in 1867. The 60,000 acres that were promised to us, there was something called the Indian Allotment Act. We ended up with 58.19 acres, all of it in a floodplain. We were the first to be removed. The government allotted a budget, $20 per head. They ran out of money. And when my people came and arrived in Indian Territory, they were starving. And they went from place to place begging for food. They needed food. We got down to only 63 people. Today, we have 4,000. No, we're just under 4,000 people. From 63. We didn't have anything, until about 1977, and we built our first building. In 1984, a gentleman came along by the name of David Allen and said, I know about gaming. I can put in a bingo hall for you. And he did that. And that has changed our lives because we became successful there. My husband passed away now. 1984, why was that important to me? Not because they put in bingo, but because my older sister received the contract for putting in the concession stand in that bingo hall. She didn't have money to pay for many workers. I was taught that we help our family. I had become a mathematical whiz in my head with basic math. She didn't have money to buy a cash register. And so I said, you don't have to pay me. I'm working at the college. I have a good job. I have a good income. You're having the bingo only on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's weekends. I can do that. I can work there. You don't have to have a cash register. I can figure the bill in my head. And so that's why I became interested in my tribe, was because I went there to help my family system. Then having been there, I realized that the people were doing their best, but many of them still had not graduated from high school. And we were getting into business, and we needed people who had knowledge and who had education. Unfortunately, my husband passed away at an early age. My fears of why I had to have an education came true, and I was left with a family. And in 1988, he passed away. I'm accustomed to being busy. I was asked if I would run for the business committee, and so I said I would. So I was elected to the business committee in 1988. Fast forward to the year 2000. 2000, my tribe is located exactly on the Oklahoma-Missouri line. Where my office was, is in Oklahoma. I personally live 2 miles from there, but I'm in the state of Missouri. I'm teaching at Crowder College, and in the year 2000, I've been active now on the business committee since 1988. My college president knows I'm active. And in 2000, the director of humanities in the state of Missouri came to our college, and he said, you have been recommended to be the representative for the state of Missouri because we're going to be having a national holiday, a national recognition, Lewis and Clark. In 2003, it's going to be the bicentennial of the Lewis and Clark expedition. He said, I happen to believe that the Native Americans never received recognition and have been mistreated all along. I don't want that to happen in our state because Lewis and Clark began in Missouri. They learned to navigate on the rivers there at Cape Girardeau. And he said, I want you to be the speaker. I said, I can't do that. And he looked at me and he said, everybody says that you speak regularly. Everybody says you would be perfect for it. You are a Native American, you're from Missouri, you meet all the criteria. I said, I can't do it because I don't know anything about my tribe. Nobody knows the history of my tribe. Our people were so poor. When you're struggling to have something to eat, you're not writing minutes. You're not writing poetry. You're not writing biographies. You're trying to hunt, kill some rabbits, kill some squirrels, butcher the pigs, whatever. Nobody knows my history. Since 1832, we don't even know how many chiefs we've had. We don't know how they were elected. We don't know whether they were for 2 years, 4 years, or what. That's on my bucket list. When I retire, I'm going to research that and I'm going to write a book. And he looked on the wall and saw my degrees and so forth, and he said, I think you've had to do a research paper along the line somewhere or the other. You've worked your entire life. This is 2000. We're doing pre-planning. This doesn't start until 2003. Now what's your excuse? And I said, I'll do it. So from 2000 to 2003, I researched my tribe every minute that I had. When you research my tribe, you research Ohio. I then did the Lewis and Clark expedition for 3 years while still being fully employed at Crowder. And 2006, it was time for the election for chief. I was asked to run. I said, I can't. A female has never been elected. They're not going to elect a female chief. And then I thought, what do I have to lose? I've been here 38 years. I have a good job. I will continue. I have a good retirement. It's not going to hurt my ego if I lose it, so I ran for chief, and I was elected. I'm proud of that, but I'm proud even more of being re-elected 5 times for 4-year terms. This is my 19th year. Next year will be my last. My decision, not theirs. And so, because of that, when I researched my tribe, I read many, many books, and I read about an author by the name of John Sugden, who had written a biography of Tecumseh. And I was very pleased with that biography. In 2007, I read, John Sugden is an author from England. In 2007, I read where he was going to be giving a lecture at Ohio State University, and I wanted to hear him, and so I traveled there. I listened to him. What I did not know is that the next day, they were going to a place called Newark Earthworks. I had researched my tribe. I had researched Ohio for 3 years. I had lectured on Ohio 3 years, 6 years. 2007, I'd never heard of a place called Newark Earthworks. I went, and there, part of the mountains that became part of the World Heritage Designation. And I walked up and looked out and could not believe, because in the research, it had indicated that our people, not meaning just my tribe, Native Americans, in Ohio, had built more than 10,000 mounds, and they were now down to less than 900. They had been destroyed. Ohio had removed all 45 tribes from the state of Ohio. Ohio had removed the Native Americans. And I stood there and looked out and I cried. And I get emotional when I think about that. Are you not going to be satisfied until you have removed every trace of my ancestors? And on those Newark earthwork mounds was a golf course. Just something that is not respectful, acceptable. And I walked away crying, saying, Father, forgive them, because they know not what they do. And I walked away saying, I know not what one voice can do, but I do know this one voice has to speak up. And so I began a dialogue with Ohio History Connection. And at that time, we were the first state to work with Ohio History Connection. And I suppose my legacy is, next month, I'll go back to Ohio to a conference that we have started there, and we will now, Ohio History Connection states that they have regular communication, cooperation, and work with 50 tribal nations. We, after 15 years of work, were inducted into the World Heritage. That's an organization of 21 countries who vote upon. They read everything that you have written. Why was it important? Because all of my life, up until this, my people have always been referred to as savages. If you knew how intricate, how detailed those mounds are, you would realize, and they proved in that nomination, those mounds were built 2,000 years ago. Many of them are 14 feet high, all built before concrete ever happened, all built before machines, equipment ever happened, built by hand, and built because they wanted to, not because they were forced to, and built out of Mother Earth. That's why I'm here today. I'm retiring next year, and I have to say that just yesterday, and this will get me in trouble for reading this because people shouldn't know this, but the director of Ohio History Connection has been asked to write a biography of me, and I'm just going to read this. Today, she has been elected to 5 consecutive and very successful terms. She declares that she will retire in 2026, which means there's a lot she wants to accomplish in the next 15 months. I've indicated 30 things that I want done in this next year. As we continue, and I was giving you a tour of our place, as we continue to tour, her driving parallels her leadership. Speeding up, not slowing down, the closer we get to the end. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Chief. Very interesting. Okay. Just want, in closing, just thank our guests, our speakers, the Drift. Next week's meeting, District Governor John Raines will be here. Our tables and chairs, if you will, put everything up, and then let's close with the 4-way test. Of all the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth